Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and we're continuing our look at the mystery bonuses at the Chess.com Computer Chess Championship. And this is a game, Bersek against Mystery, and slightly bucking the trend. We're looking at the game that Bersek won. Was a very, very nice game. So let's have a look. This started out with the Chess.com openings. Not great for black, this sort of system. Yeah, I mean these sort of perk systems where black plays the move e7 to e5 and then castles early as well, and then white plays this sort of same-ish dragon structure with the pawn on f3 and queenside castling. Very, very dangerous for black. Yeah, h4 to h5 is coming in quickly, bishop h6 as well. It's can really be very, very unpleasant for black. So these sort of things are not really recommended for black. Normally, you know, black tries to play moves like c6 and b5 instead. Here, Mystery played a very forcing line. It really looked like Mystery was trying to re-establish the balance straight away with some concrete play. Not really sure that this is the best way of playing, although it was also Dragon's way of playing as well. Actually, when I sort of told my engines more, well, try this or try that, you know, that looks like a better move to me, then the results did tend to improve. So one interesting thing, this knight bd7, that was one of the things I suggested to my engines, and it was also Stockfish's choice when given the position after move 7. And well, it wasn't that successful, but it did look a little bit more aggressive, really. So after castles, rook b8 was the idea, a3 and then b5, which I liked very much as an idea. So d5 played by Dragon in this position, and then Stockfish went for this move knight b6. So the idea is that if knight takes b5, we go knight c4 here. So b3 played, quite striking to see these two moves, a3 and b3, really. I mean, always said normally that you shouldn't move pawns in front of your own king, but well, you know, the engines always seem to find a lot of exceptions to that, you know, and simply, you know, sometimes adjusting your pawn structure and then not being afraid to take some decisive action somewhere is often working better than just, you know, staying at home and trying not to move anything. So queen e7, and then this position was quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, in general, you know, some of black's attacking potential has been destroyed because this b pawn, which is a big disruptive influence, has been destroyed. Not totally easy for black to achieve c6. And well, in principle, this e4 square is most likely going to be used by white, and we've still got all these possibilities of pushing the pawns. Yeah, just one thing that really amazed me here was that in this position with Dragon as black, Dragon loves its exchange sacrifices, and it came up with a move of rook b6. Petrojan, eat your heart out. Just sacrificing the exchange like this and then just playing on the dark squares. Still turned out, you know, well for white, but I was very, very impressed with the concept, I have to say. So knight bd7 was interesting. I think probably better than e takes d4 as played in the game, but not super. This move worked out a little bit better for Dragon and Stockfish. They both achieved draws with black. After d5, that was Dragon against Stockfish. Knight e7, castles, h5. A very typical move there, just sort of trying to stop this move g4. King b1, now playing with b5. And queen b8, you know, black was worse, but definitely got some counterplay in there. And well, this was I think Stockfish against Dragon. Stockfish played castles, and then Dragon actually just played d5 like this and went for a great little queen sacrifice there. Knight takes c3, takes check, and rook takes d8, takes. Bishop f8, and well, the cunning idea is rook d8, we've got bishop e6 check, so we don't need to worry about that. And after bishop c4, bishop d6, and Dragon managed to hold this somehow. So yeah, you know, quite interesting. Certainly I felt that both those possibilities were offering a little bit more than e takes d4. It was only really Stockfish, as always, that managed to find a quite interesting way to to give up material and try and reach a draw. But the normal possibilities were not going well at all. So after knight takes d4, d5 was Mystery's choice. e5 and then knight e8, and the idea here is it's quite nice in a way. I mean, you're sort of threatening c5 here, and maybe then d4 afterwards. The e5 pawn is also hanging, of course. So yeah, not so stupid. But the engines just play bishop g5, and now a very crucial moment. Queen d7. That was Mystery's choice, and it was also Dragon's choice. But Stockfish's idea was quite amazing, and I'll just show you what Stockfish did. It was takes, castles, and then knight c6, knight d2, and then knight e5. And Stockfish's idea here is just to give up the pawn like this and play this position. And Stockfish is just amazing at this stuff. Just finding these sort of pawn down positions where it's got some sort of compensation. And most engines, even if you give them this, don't hold it. Although Dragon also managed to hold this as black against Stockfish. Humans would certainly find it difficult, but somehow Stockfish manages to find compensation all the time. So I'll just show you a little example. h6. Bishop b7, rook e8, bishop b4, bishop e6, rook d1, h5, bishop c3, bishop h6, bishop d2, bishop g7, just squiggling around there. And black's pieces are well placed and all that, but I mean in principle white's just a pawn upright. I mean it should be a clear extra pawn, but here Stockfish gives away another one. Gets this counterplay on the d file, and then ties white up, takes on a2, bishop d5, quite striking. This rook is on d2, but it's attacked by the bishop on h6 here, and if you go something like rook d4, I've got bishop e3, so you just never escape there. And bishop e2, king g7, h4, a6, rook e1, bishop f4, just very calmly playing around there. And again, despite still being a pawn down in this ending, Stockfish has got compensation still. I'm still surprised that it's enough for the draw, but Dragon didn't manage to convert this, and Stockfish managed to hold a draw. But I really feel that this is kind of play that's not human reproducible, really. I mean, you could just have the idea of, well, I could play like this and this should get me a draw, but whether you could really play accurately enough to hold it seems very dubious to me. I think for human players the correct answer is simply not to play this opening. But very, very interesting. I mean, what Mystery did and Dragon did as well was to go queen d7, and then this pawn sacrifice was coming in. Just castles, bishop takes c5, and h4. And this is just rather difficult for black. I mean, the central pawn, big pawn on e5 really, but black's got a lot of moves before black can get developed. This queen's obviously awkward on d7. The pawn on d5 is irritating. I mean, if you try and play knight d6, then I got knight takes d5, so you're going to have to play a move like c6 to develop it. And meanwhile, we've got our stuff coming in really, so it's really a very dangerous initiative here. So Mystery played the move f6, bishop h6, knight g7. And now knight db5 was played. There's actually a cunning little trap in this, because if you play f4, looks quite natural, then we've got takes and knight f5, forking queen and bishop there. So it's not the complete end of the story, because white can keep on going and win this rook on a7. But I mean, this is just about okay for black. You go rook c8. Keep the knight on a8 there, rook e1, knight c6, and black is going to win that knight on a8, and have two knights for rook and pawn. A little bit uncomfortable still, but just about holdable for black. But Bersek played a move that I like very much. He played the move knight db5, and after c6 played f4. And the idea is then that after bishop c3 you take knight c3. So we still managed to get the two bishops there, but without this unpleasant fork with knight f5. And of course, knight f5 not possible in this position because of bishop takes f8. And actually, this position, if you look at the engine results, the results of engine matches that I played from here, is just a total win for white. I think I played, maybe 80 or 90 games, and all of them white wins. Just the engines are just incredible at converting this sort of dynamic advantage into a win. And what are the key points about it? Well, we've got a weakened black king here. We've got possibilities, all sorts of possibilities for pawn storms here. Very little play for black against white. I mean, this king on c1 is perfectly safe there. And obviously, a slight lead in development for white as well. But still so striking that a position that I'd consider, probably good advantage for white here, but still everything to play for really. Is just really seen as a clear win. So after rook e8 was played, then g4 was played, and that's a great move from white. I mean, first of all, you'll notice that it stops this idea of knight to f5, which is quite funny. And the second idea is that if queen g4, we're just going h5 here, and if knight h5, we're going bishop e2. And we're just looking to take on h5 and then bring something into g1 here. The engines weren't surviving this at all. So after g4, queen e7 was played, just to try and get the bishop into play, attack there, and now f5. The engine's just throwing everything forward here, and if you take on f5, I mean, we've just got a big open g file there. So black doesn't want to do that. Knight d7, but now a really, really good move. But all of the engines play it, and this is all part of why they consider this position to be so good, because obviously black's looking to play something like knight e5, get the knight active in that way, and give the black king side some sort of protection, give some protection of g6, attack g4 as well. But here the engines are taking, and going bishop b5 there. And knight to b6, queen d2, and you just notice how little space black has got. These pieces all undeveloped. This pawn cramping the develop of the bishop, and we've got moves like bishop takes g7 and rook e1 coming in. And this e8 rook is going. It's just black just has got no space whatsoever. So rook g8 played, rook e1. Queen f7 and then queen d6 here, and we're keeping going. Just white's got all sorts of threats like rook e7 here, for example. So black has to do something here, and what black decided was to play bishop f5. So give back the bishop. Give white that material, and then hopefully just get the rooks developed and try and survive. And white's got to be a little bit careful. Obviously gf, we've got this knight f5 again, forking these two. I was expecting rook e7 to be decisive, but queen takes a2, queen f6. I mean, looks pretty good, doesn't it? But we've got this little idea. Rook d8, takes and check. And funnily enough, there's nothing better here than just repeating, really, because if you try and cross over to the king side somehow, so if you go king d2, queen a5, king e2, then there's just bishop g4 check. You can't go king e3 because of knight d5, and you can't go king f2 because of queen f5 takes, knight takes. And once again, this fork is in the house, and black's just winning in actual fact. Quite amazing, quite unfair, I think I have to say. But what Bersek had planned was just to take on g7, rook takes g7, and g takes f5. Queen takes a2, and now this move c3 is necessary again. If queen f6, we've got this move queen a1 check here, and queen a5, and we're going to pick up this this bishop on b5 here. So c3 played, and black returned with queen f7, f takes g6, and now queen takes g6. Yeah, if you go h takes g6, none of the engines wanted to do that. White just piles in, and well, rook e7 is going to be a very dangerous idea. But I just want to talk about the general type of positions that we're getting here, because, you know, these sort of positions, you know, if I was playing this as white, I would be thinking, well, you know, I've given my best, I've really attacked like a lunatic, but looks like black's got out of it, really. You know, he's a pawn up. Okay, you know, king's a little bit, you know, vulnerable. I mean, we've got, you know, an open G file here, and this pawn's a bit weak and all that, and you know, I guess that my my bishop can come round here and attack h7, but basically, you know, well done, black's just defended like a demon, you know, probably surviving. You know, and that would be, you know, really my my assessment of it, you know. And whereas for the engines, this is just totally won for white. +3, +4, you know, no doubts about it. And as I said, you know, I play maybe 60, 70 games from this position, and every single one of them is ending in a win. Now, I think this is fairly, you know, fairly fundamental. It's one of those, you know, always saying that, you know, if I had my time again, that you know, I'd want to completely revamp my my evaluation algorithm, and you know, this is something that that definitely would be amongst that, because yeah, you know, for me it's simply so hard to understand and to believe that this could be the case, you know, that that white could just be winning here. But yeah, maybe if you trained your evaluation with engine games from the start, you'd sort of understand it. I mean, the basic point is that it's, you know, really what we mentioned before, that the white king is absolutely safe. It's a little bit more open there, a little bit more exposed, but you put a bishop on the on this b1 h7 diagonal on d3 or c2, the king goes to b1, and it's totally safe. You know, there's nothing that black can do against it. On the other hand, you know, this black king, especially with a bishop pointing towards the h7 pawn, this weakened, this exposed, you know, the back rank, also a bit of a weakness. That black king is never escaping. It's a really, really long-term weakness that black can do nothing about. And the engines just understand that, you know, that white has got innumerable ways of building up pressure more and more. You know, it doesn't matter what black does, essentially nothing's ever going to change that king is weak, and that white can build up pressure. And well, what you're going to see is that, you know, whilst white's building up pressure, black ends up being unable to defend the b7 and a7 pawns. And what's even more shocking is that what you're seeing is that so many types of positions are going to end up being winning for white. So, you know, for example, I win one a pawn, and then I can even exchange off queens and play a king, rook and bishop against king, rook and knight endgame and win it. You know, simply because there's just so many types of positions that are good. The fact that these pawns are broken, you know, means that if there's a pawn race, well, these two connected passed pawns will be much better than this single h pawn. And of course, I've got a bishop that can support my own pawns and defend against an advancing black pawn as well. It's just, you know, that long-term weakness of the king, and the fact that so many typical positions arising from exchanges are just really good, well, winning for white as well. You know, that just makes this position, in fact, just a win. You know, the way that Bersek beat Mystery from it was very, very typical. Actually, you know, the engines chose all sorts of different ways of winning, but the basic parameters were pretty much all the same. So yeah, amazing. I mean, simply amazing. And you know, as I said, something where well, you know, I'm convinced by the evidence, but yeah, just my my intuitive mind is still struggling to accept it. So bishop d3 played straight away, bringing the bishop onto the great diagonal there. Queen f7, king b1, tucking the king away. Rook ag8. Now actually a Bersek special. No other engine played this way as quickly as Bersek did, but h5 was played. I mean, you're just looking to bring this pawn to h6, which would be unbelievably painful for black. So queen h5 played, and now queen f6. And what's the result of that? Actually, there's some very big results for white. First of all, we've got rid of this f pawn. So clearly you can understand that the king is extremely exposed along the a1 h8 diagonal. There's always going to be some checks. And secondly, giving away pawns to open lines. What we learn't from AlphaZero, mentioned so often in Game Changer, and modern engines do it just as beautifully. The H file has been opened, and it means that this h7 pawn is extremely vulnerable as well. So actually, the black king, the exposure, the long-term exposure of the black king has been made completely clear by swapping this h pawn for the f pawn. Knight d7, queen f2, queen c5. This is the really funny thing. I think also that somehow when you're playing this as a human and your opponent's just offering the exchange of queens all the time, you sort of get tired. You sort of say, oh dear me, oh, I can't avoid the exchange of queens. But the engines just shrug their shoulders and just say, oh well fine, you'll offer me the exchange of queens, I'll keep on avoiding it. For 20 moves it has to, and then I'll find a spot where you can't do that, and then I'll move on and do the next thing somehow. It's so bishop c2, queen f2, queen b4, queen b6, queen a3. Haha, can't offer the exchange anymore for the moment. Queen f2, a little bit of a shimmy there. Queen f2, and then this move c4, which is very nice. Actually, what this move is doing, it's giving the queen a spot on c3 here to pin the rook on g7, and also defends the bishop on c2 if black ever tries to get some pressure along the 7th rank. So b6 was played by Mystery. It's always a little bit complicated, seeing how the engines defend, because they're already convinced that this is hopeless. So they do end up giving pawns away or anything. A6 was my suggestion. I mean, why am I giving away a pawn like that? But rook e6, queen f3, rook d3, queen g4, rook e1, rook ed1. It doesn't seem to make much difference for the engines. They're just getting themselves organized, and it doesn't make a blind bit of difference really. Here once again the a5 pawn goes, we come into d8, and we just keep on rolling, just like in the game basically. So I mean, it's essentially long term the engines just don't believe at all in black's chances. But I'd say in a human game that I wouldn't be surprised if black was holding quite a few of these things. So b6, queen a7, rook g2, rook c1. And I mean, there was a number of games in the Silicon Road to Chess Improvement where I said there was a wonderful game towards the end of the book between Stockfish and Leela in some unusual English, and you sort of said that it was again one of these positions where Stockfish was a pawn down, but plenty of long-term weaknesses around the black king. And you had the feeling all the time that, at some stages Leela was coming forward, getting its pieces active, but all that Stockfish did was absorb it, and then slowly again, the long-term weaknesses were becoming more important again, and then Leela's pieces were getting pushed back. And it's the same thing here. I mean, we've got this enormous pressure here along the 7th rank, but White's just played rook c1 and absorbed it, and now White's going to come back again, and then the pieces are going to get active again. So rook g3, queen d6, queen f4, queen c6. Again, still, avoiding the exchange of queens here. Queen f2, queen d6, a little bit of a repetition. Queen b4, queen f6, and rook h1. So black's threats have been absorbed. What does black do next? Who knows? So white is just going to end up putting pressure. So we're now white's attacking the pawn on h7, now keeping this rook on f7 passive. Knight f8, okay, the knight's defending it now, but now the knight's passive, so that knight isn't going to be coming anywhere near your king anywhere in the future. Rook cd1, the rook had moved to c1 to protect the bishop, now no longer requires moves to d1, and stuff like rook d6 is becoming interesting. Queen c6, queen e1. Quite a nice move there, refocusing on the e5 square. Queen c7, bishop d3. Again, I think a very nice move. The idea here is actually to go queen c3 check, and you're just blocking the third rank there to do that. King g7, queen c3, rook f6. Yeah, the black pieces start getting a little bit awkward and uncoordinated. Rook f1. Now we've got a pin, and rook f5. And yeah, you know, nothing terrible is happening yet. There's no immediate wins on the horizon, but you can just sort of see that white's pieces are starting to get more and more active. And what is white going to go for? Well, I mean, white's just got various things that that it can pressure. I mean, rook h5 can come and attack the pawn on h7. Rook b5, you know, together with the queen, can attack the pawn on b6, which could be hard to defend. And you're just nibbling away at black's positions, making it more and more difficult. So queen e6 played, rook d5, so again a Bersek special. Most of the other engines were playing rook df1, which was quite obvious, and then queen d4, which I thought was very nice, just coming in, and the idea is just going to be to do some stuff like maybe bishop c2 to a4, just to loosen the defense of the knight on there. Loads and loads of possibilities there. You know, maybe even the queen can just swing over and start attacking h7 as well. You know, just enormous amounts of mobility for white. But Bersek played rook d5, queen g4, then brought the other rook there, and rook e1. So yeah, again, you know, the black pieces are just being knocked around a bit, and now we've got ideas like rook e1. The white king is always going to be safe on a2. The bishop is pinned, but it's beautifully defended by the rook as well. So, you know, king g8, rook d8, and now that rook comes into d8, and this knight on f8 is passive. It's just, you know, squeezing, and you just notice that for all black's rooks and queens moving around, actually what black's achieving is becoming less and less. And but of course, it's the amazing thing from the engines that they understand this from a very, very long way away. From the position at move 30, it's just clear this is going to happen. And I mean, normally humans are pretty good at sort of extrapolating courses of action from positions, but this one, well, certainly for me, it was very, very difficult to do that. For myself, impossible, and even when I'm shown it, I'm struggling to understand. So rook f7, and now a little move queen b3 here. So I mean, just simple stuff, right? I'm just attacking the pawn on b6 here. So queen g3, and then rook h1. And the rook was on the e-file, open e-file, it gets knocked, fine. Now it's threatening the h7 pawn, and well, you're starting to see an awful lot of potential pressure points here on black's position. Somehow, it's imperceptible in a way, but you're just sort of squeezing in there. Queen f2, and now queen d1 from Bersek. Actually, a dragon, always the sharp one, wanted to play the move c5, and the idea being that if b takes c5, we've got this move rook takes f8 check, which is quite shocking. Check queen b8. The big idea is that after king g7, we've got I think it was just rook h7 followed by lots of carnage. And if king e7, we just squeeze a little bit tighter. Bishop check, queen d8, queen g5, and rook g1. And as if by magic, there is absolutely no defense to queen g8. I mean, all those rooks and major pieces that black has got, in no way, because if rook f8, there's queen g7. So the only thing that Stockfish could do was play rook g3. That is very difficult to visualize. Just because the when you play rook f8, the end point where you're going to be mating is by no means clear, and there's enough sort of variety and checks and opportunities for black to block with stuff that that it's rather confusing. So I wouldn't expect a human player to see this. Queen d1 is very nice here, and actually white's idea simply is to do stuff like bishop e4 to d5 and just pin that rook on f7 to the king on g8 there. So queen e3, and now c5, it's in there. B takes c5 and bishop c4, and that is going to be kind of curtains. Queen e4 takes, king g7 takes, rook g1 check, and rook g5, rook d6, rook c6, the c pawn goes, and well, the rest of the ending was not a problem. Simply this pawn goes very fast, and this one has real problems going with these two chunky rooks to keep it back. So there we are. I mean, I hope you liked that game. I was very, very impressed by Berserk's play, and I thought there were a number of very interesting points to it. I mean, certainly I thought in the opening was quite intrigued to see how much the engines wanted to try and strike back with this d5 move, and yeah, I thought maybe edging themselves into well, to be honest, a rather difficult line where black's under real pressure here. That didn't seem like a good choice right from the opening. I thought there were better choices, but of course what's really impressive is that Stockfish's idea was completely different. Just say, okay, I can reach a position where I'm a pawn down, but I think I've got decent piece play here. And yeah, I mean, I think Stockfish drew 3 out of 4 games. I think it lost one to Dragon, but it drew 3 of 4 games, which, well, when you consider what the rest of the results were like, that's quite an amazing drawing ratio. But again, I mean, I find this I would find this very, very hard to emulate, really. Interesting to know that this could be a possibility, but yeah, I think you just need so much accuracy over the whole rest of the game in order to keep your initiative going. I think it's very, very difficult. But I was very, very impressed with how all the engines played this, just giving up a pawn, h4, and then just the pawn storms g4, another lovely move, and then just knight takes d5, just again, all this judgment, understanding how blocked the black pieces are and what you can do with it. And but of course, the most amazing thing is that simply at a moment where I might be feeling, oh dear, with white, I've messed this up. I must have had a better win earlier. I must have missed some clear tactical way of playing it. I'm saying, oh dear, well done, black, and the engines here are saying our job is done, easy win for white. But yeah, I mean, it's simply I think the raw materials are not difficult to understand. Simply a permanently weak black king, the white king completely safe. A nice regrouping of the bishop to this diagonal where it's aiming against the black king. Possibility of swapping, of getting this f pawn, swapping it for the h pawn, which then also opens the h file against the h7 pawn, and just the understanding of what you can do, really. That whilst black is sort of desperately crouching around trying to keep its king safe, I can also go and grab some pawns on the queen side, re-establish the material balance, maybe get a little bit more. Endings are good for me if I get one of those pawns back, because I've got a bishop. In the ending, just a lot of factors there, and I think it's it is completely possible to understand that and have that judgment, but I think you do need to play through a number of engine games of this type, to really get that before it really becomes a feeling for you, but well, it's just that is. I think that is what engines bring to chess, these sort of transcendental evaluations, and well, I'm pretty sure that we can copy them, but yeah, maybe needs a little bit of reprogramming of ourselves. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, if you enjoyed it, why not give a like, subscribe to the channel. That's always very much appreciated. Take a look at my newest book, Re-engineering the Chess Classics, analysing classic games in the way that I analyse all these engine games, and yeah, finding amazing new things, not just tactics or anything like that. That's less interesting. Anyone could find that with an engine, but strategical plans, new ideas in endings, new schemes, all that sort of thing. So it's a really, really nice book, and I think there's lots of well-known games that get well, completely fresh insights that have never been seen anywhere else before. So do take a look at that. But otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you at the next videos. Thanks for watching.